What's the worst Christmas present you have received? Story 1. So I was dating a guy for a few months when Christmas rolled around. He had recently started a new job that required travel, and this was before smartphones and built-in GPS in your car were common. So I splurged a bit and got him a Garmin to help him find his way. Thoughtful, useful, but not too sentimental. It felt perfect for where the relationship was at the time. Due to schedules, we couldn't get together until a few days after Christmas. In my haste to go see him, I walked right out the door without his gift. I didn't realize it until I got to his house and I felt terrible, but he said, "No worries, I will give you gifts now and I will just get mine later." Cool. So he goes into the other room and comes back with 2 wrapped gifts. I noticed some of the paper was messed up like it had been wrapped, but didn't think much of it in the moment. I carefully unwrapped the first package. It was an MMA magazine. That had clearly been read. I was confused. I do not like MMA. Not even a little bit. Nor have I ever expressed interest in MMA. Not once. He, on the other hand, loved all things MMA. Trying to move on, I politely thanked him, set the magazine down, and refocused on the next gift. I could tell it was a DVD from the shape of the package. And indeed, it was a DVD. A Forrest Gump DVD. With a cellophane wrapper missing. Now don't get me wrong, Forrest Gump is a solid choice. Except I already owned a Forrest Gump DVD. And now here I was suddenly the proud owner of a second copy that he had used. I again thanked him and sat there quietly, trying to wrap my head around how he could have arrived at the conclusion that a used magazine on a topic I didn't like, and a second-hand DVD of something I already owned would make for good Christmas gifts. He also got a little quiet, then sheepishly volunteered. I got bored, so I watched the movie yesterday. I just stared. And then I hadn't seen that issue yet, so I went ahead and read through it. I think you'll really like it. I slowly responded, "So you got me a magazine because you wanted to read it and then watch the movie you got for me because you were bored?" His only response was, "Well, yeah, I guess so." I left not long after. The next day, I returned the Garmin for a full refund. About a week later, he called and said he didn't think it was working out. "No problem," I said, "I don't think it's working out either." As we were wrapping up the call, expressing well wishes and all that, he paused for a beat and said, "Hey, were you still going to give me that Christmas present?" Story true. The time I was really into Green Day and the emerging alternative music of the mid-90s. And my mom bought me a few CDs back when CDs were something stupid like $20 each. Wow. Awesome gift. Except the CDs were Toni Braxton and Mariah Carey and something else I've completely forgotten. Other Christmases when my brother would get a pile of presents or something pretty expensive football table, air hockey table, etc. And I'd get a couple books and lip gloss. I love those things, so the gifts themselves weren't bad, but I was clearly not the favourite child. In the aftermath of gift opening, Mom would look at the pile my brother got and the few gifts I got, then make a big show stomping around the house claiming she knows she got more for me. She must have misplaced all the other gifts. Without fail, for several years in a row, she misplaced my gifts. Because she realized in the moment that she spent way more on my brother than me. Never once did she find these misplaced gifts. And to make it worse, my birthday is shortly after Christmas. So I never got much for my birthday because the budget was blown on Christmas. My brother claims he remembers me getting shitty birthday gifts and I was always jealous of his. I don't have any memory of that, but it very well could be. The worst birthday was the year I only got a Bible with my name stamped on the front in gold lettering. That's a birthday I remember quite clearly. Story 3. When I was 12, I bought myself a Kindle. Me and my sister spent an entire summer working for our grandpa and started to save up for them. Each of us spending about $200. My mom got all 3 of my brothers a Kindle for Christmas and I got some clothes from Old Navy. I was livid, and when I talked to my mom about it, she told me that my sister and I had been excluding our brothers from hanging out while we played video games and it was unfair. She never apologized or saw anything wrong with what she did. And I honestly still haven't forgiven her almost a decade later. Story 4. An ex gave me an engagement ring for herself, on the idea that I would use it to propose to her. She also gave specific instructions on how and when I should do it, as well as stipulations that she would be the one planning our wedding. We had a terrible relationship, and I had been planning on breaking up with her right after the holidays, which I did. I couldn't understand how she thought we were even close to being on the same page. And once it was all over, I realized the obvious and what everyone was trying to tell me for 3 years. I was in an abusive relationship. Still, who the hell buys a ring for someone to give back to them? It's just bad gifting. Story 5. A $100 bill. I was dating and living with an ex at the time. For Christmas he wanted a very fancy and very specific looking button-up shirt. I spent a month making him the shirt and making sure it was perfect. I also made us a nice Christmas dinner with some fun drinks. Christmas morning rolls around and I give him his shirt. He tries it on and loves it. Yay! He then gets a panicked look in his face, reaches in his pocket, pulls a $100 out of his wallet and says, here you go. My friends are coming over today, so you have somewhere to be, right? Basically, he was paying me to leave. But the bright side was, I knew right then and there how he'd actually felt about me. He was dumped before for the new year. Story 6. I have a story within a story. In my family, large/exciting gifts get bespoke riddles/clues leading on a hunt culminating in a gift. One year, I drew a sister of mine in exchange who hates frogs. So I purchased her a pair of well-made, stylish scarves as she was about to move to a colder part of the nation. I also bought her perhaps the most grotesque frog-shaped coffee mug I have ever seen in my life. And then I wrote out a 5-step scavenger hunt to the mug. As I was setting everything up on Christmas Eve, I was telling my dad about what I was doing. He laughed, but then he got a little somber. He then told me about the gift he gave his youngest sister for her 5th Christmas. It was a gigantic box, beautifully wrapped. In it, he carefully layered pastel tissue paper. As she peeled back layer after layer, her excitement became palpable. The tension was building. What could it be? It was a single piece of nickel gum. She was absolutely crushed. I will never forget how badly I hurt her. So just keep that in mind. In spite of his warning, I didn't feel too bad. I'd gotten her a real gift too, after all. So Christmas morning arrived. And, as fate would have it, this same sister drew my name for the gift. It was a decent-sized box, maybe 8 stinks for inches. It was heavy, but not noisy. There were many things on my list that would have been a good fit in that box. So I opened it. It was an Amazon box. Within it, another wrapped box. I opened it. Another slightly smaller wrapped box. Inside that one, several rocks embedded in a tissue nest and another wrapped box. I opened that one to find a packet of duct tape. At that point, I just looked at my dad. He started laughing and finally choked up. Forget about that story. My gift ended up being a gift card, which was plenty and appreciated. And she got a kick out of her frog mug, even if it only gets used by her husband to creep her out.